Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Combat Sports YouTube channel. And I'm delighted to be joined by Team Austria's first gold medalist in 9 years at the IMMAF Championships, Elias Erber. How are you doing, sir? Nice to meet you.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm good, just a little bit tired, but all in all, I'm very good and I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. We're happy to have you, mate. I mean, let's start there. You know, you're the first Austrian to win at the IMMAF in 9 years. I mean, how did that feel when that moment came to pass last year?
Man, I think, except for me, nobody was thinking that I was gonna win the gold medal. So it was very unexpected, but that moment, I think that was definitely one of the best moments in my life. When I heard that my name got announced, that I'm the new champion, it's a crazy moment. And in the first moment, I couldn't even realize it. It was a little bit later when I was doing the doping test, and then I really realized that I just won the gold medal. But it was really, really crazy. I want everyone to, yeah.
And like you said there, you said apart from me, nobody really thought it would happen. What gave you that confidence and that understanding that it would be you that would pick up the championship?
In my opinion, you always have to think that you're the best. You don't have to be cocky, but in your mind, you always have to think that you're going to win. Because when you have the mindset that you're not going to win the gold medal, you're definitely not going to win the gold medal. So keep it for yourself, but in your mind, you always have to believe and be 100% sure that you're gonna make it.
And was that confidence that you brought up through training camps or through previous competitions? Like where did it kind of you know, kind of like the evidence, so to speak? Where did that part come from for you to make you think, yeah, this is mine?
I think I've been 4 times before at the IMMAF, and it didn't really go out my way. But last year it was very close, and it was one of my hardest losses. It was exactly 1 year ago today that I lost at the IMMAF 2022 2023 World Championships. And it's just training, and I also like to do visualize things. And if you do that every day, you start to believe it. You start to really believe it. You have to 100% believe it, and then you'll be able to do it. But without the real good training, all your believing doesn't matter. You have to train good, believe it, and have a good team around you, and you'll be able to do a lot if you really believe it.
Yeah, absolutely came to fruition for you, both, like you said, from a mental side and also from a performance side. I mean, let's reflect on the competition. I mean, how was it for you going through those fights? Like, talk us through the experience that you went through during the competition last year.
Mentally, it was really hard because the preparation wasn't the best. And one week before the competition started, I got the information that my trainer couldn't come to the first fight.
Oh no!
So the first fight against the Greece guy was mentally really hard for me, but I got it done. And after that, after doing something like that, you get stronger. And from that on, day to day, my confidence grew. And I'm really happy that I think the first time I lost at the IMMAF was against a Ukrainian guy, and the second time against a Tajik guy. And this time I managed to beat the Ukrainian guy and the Tajik guy to get the gold medal. And that's really, really good, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And from watching the fights myself, I was super impressed. In the first 2 fights that you managed to get the finishes, but then you went into the final also, really looking for that finish. I mean, there's sticky grapplers, and then there's you. You are really just all over people. They're not getting away. is there, you know, that within grappling there can be that kind of balance between, okay, I'm going to grapple to score points and win the fight that way, or I'm going to grapple to finish and really really chase everything I can and try and get my opponents out of there. Is that where you sit? I mean, looking at your style, is that really where you sit? I'm going to get the finish. I'm not here to waste time, so to speak, and try to get points.
I think it's always better to get the finish, not only for yourself but for the people who watch the fight. And it would have been too good to finish all the opponents. I was very close in the final, but it would be too nice to finish all 4 opponents. But I'm happy with my performance in the final. If you always make some mistakes, but all in all, I'm happy how it went.
Yeah, I think you can be very happy. And one that stood out to me in particular is the Safarov fight, where it got close to going to 3 rounds, but it was like your style just ground him down, and then towards the end of the fight, it just looked like, yeah, he's just had enough. Can you get a feeling of that happening within a fight? Like the finish is close because you're grinding them down over those previous 2.5 rounds, and then you think, right, I'm going to go for it now.
I think in the Safarov fight, that was definitely my hardest fight in this competition. I definitely lost the first round, but I felt him slowing down, and at the end of the second round, I was able to finish him. And yeah, it's in the past it happened a lot that I lost the first round, but if the round's going on, I always get stronger, and that was definitely one of my hardest fights so far.
Yeah, that was a very impressive performance to me when I was watching it. And another thing I want to touch on is you're 21 years old with an amateur record of 19-4. You know, most pros would be happy with with that record. Was that very conscious decision from the beginning to say, okay, I'm going to have a real good run at amateur, learn as much as I can before looking to turn pro? Like, what was the mindset between having so many amateur fights to this point?
I think it's very important to get a lot of experience before you turn pro. I think a lot of young amateurs make the mistake to rush it too much, to want to go pro and straight away want to go to big promotions. So I definitely want to do the European Championships, and maybe I have to talk with my coaches, the World Championships as well. And when I'm going pro, I also want to take my time. I don't want to go to a big promotion straight away. I want to work my way up, and the end goal is definitely to go to the UFC, but I only want to go to UFC if I really, really deserve it, if I know I'm on that level. I don't want to go to the UFC too early and when I'm not on the level yet. I know I'm definitely not on the level yet. I have a lot to learn, but with patience and with the time, I definitely think I can go to UFC.
Yeah, and that's a super humble and admirable mindset. I mean, speaking of that, since the Worlds, you know, speaking of a very active record since the Worlds, it looks as though things have been a little bit quieter. What have you been doing in between that time in preparing for this year?
I didn't really stop training. I took a week off after the World Championships, and I really train all year round. I don't really do it that I only train very less and then fight camp. All of a sudden, I train all out. I look to be in good shape year round, and then when a fight gets announced, I look to get the last few percents for my cardio and that, but I don't really take much time off because I like to train, and yeah. Besides that, I'm studying, so there is not much time.
No, there's not much time. What are you studying?
Sports psychology. Sports. I study sports.
Okay. Study sports. So the idea is to have something as a backup. That's pretty smart, right?
Yeah. You never know what's gonna happen. I think I'm definitely sports first and then studying, but you never know what's going to happen. So it's always good to have a backup plan, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Because of injury, things like that, you do never know.
Yeah.
Touch wood, so to speak. Touch wood, of course. So then 2024, like you mentioned, you're building up towards the European Championships now, and then hopefully the world later in the year, depending on what your coaches say. I mean, when you looked at this year, how did you kind of envision things being? Did you envision going to the Euros and getting a gold medal again, and then the same at the Worlds, or is it still kind of okay? Let's do the Euros and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I don't look too much in the future. I definitely want to get the gold medal. Now that I'm the world champion, I think if I don't get the gold medal at the Europes, it's automatically a loss for me. So yeah, there's always a lot of pressure, but now it's even more pressure because I have the golden uniform now. I always dreamed about that. Looking at the other fighters in the warm-up room who have the golden uniform, that's nice. But in the IMMAFs in general, you have a lot of pressure because the starting fee, you have to travel there, and if you lose the first fight, it's even worse than losing another fight because you have to stay there. You have to watch your friends, your teammates over the other days who can fight, who can compete, and you have to stay there on the sideline and watch. I think that's one of the worst feelings you can have.
Yeah,
but
for
if
sure,
you win,
that probably fun.
It's
Yeah, if you win, go ahead.
It's good.
Yeah, much better for sure. And two questions that have kind of branched off the back of that. The first one being, are you looking at the European Championships to say, right, I want to go in and get 3 finishes, I want to better my world performances? And secondly, does it add extra pressure for you knowing you've kind of got a target in your back with that gold uniform?
I think the pressure it's always the same. You always put the pressure on yourself. I don't really care what other people think, but I put a lot of pressure on myself. But it's good pressure that helps me train hard. But when the fight day is coming, if I know I've done everything I can, there's no shame in losing. If I do my best, then yeah, then my opponent was better on that day. But I don't think that someone can beat me at the Europes. Now that I've become world champion, my confidence grew even a little bit more. But it's always dangerous when you're too confident. It happened last year to me. I was in the quarterfinals at the 2022 World Championships, and I definitely won the first 2 rounds. Then I got overconfident and got submitted by guillotine, and that was definitely one of the hardest losses I've had so far, because I definitely, in my mind, I already was in the next round, and then losing and waking up and realizing what I just did, that was very, very not a good feeling.
For sure, I can imagine. And then, like I said, is the aspiration to try and go 3 finishes, try and better the world's performances?
3 finishes or 4 finishes even would be very nice, but I'm not gonna rush it. Don't make silly mistakes. If it presents itself, I'll definitely go for it, but I won't rush it. So, but
smart.
It would be very nice to top that.
Yeah, very smart. And then just finally, how does it feel to be, a big representative of Austrian MMA? Obviously, you've got a big star who trains in Austria, Alexander Rakic, in the UFC, but he's obviously not of Austrian descent. How does it make you feel to kind of be, a representative for this generation of Austrian MMA?
It definitely feels good, but I have to say we're definitely in Austria, especially, we have a few years behind something like the USA. We're definitely a few years behind, but there are a few young guys that are coming from Austria, and it's always nice to win a gold medal for your country. And I think I want to be the first real Austrian born and with Austrian roots to become a UFC champion, or be one of the best Austrian fighters there have been so far. That's definitely a goal for me.
Yeah, I mean that would be pretty amazing. And just on that, we've obviously got a huge fight this weekend in the UFC for the belt in your division, Volkanovski and Ilia Topuria. How do you see that one going?
Well, it's a very good fight. Topuria has a lot of confidence. He never lost, but I still think Volkanovski is gonna be too much for him, and I think Volkanovski is gonna win it. But speaking of that, when I'm going pro, I'm definitely going to fight at bantamweight 61 kgs because right now I'm not really cutting much weight. My walk around weight is about 70 kilos. So in the IMMAF, I think it's not clever to cut too much weight because you have to make weight every day. And if you cut too much on the day before or even in the morning, your performance definitely is gonna be compromised after that. So
yeah, and it takes a lot out of you.
I've seen a lot of people really cutting a lot of weight, and I really wouldn't recommend it.
Well, speaking of bantamweight, there's obviously a massive bantamweight fight on that UFC card, and then in a month's time with Sean O'Malley and Chito Vera. How do you see Merab and Henry matching up? That must be quite an interesting one from a wrestling perspective as well for you, from a grappling point of view.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good fight, but I think Merab is going to do it with his cardio, and I think straight up wrestling, Henry would beat him, but in MMA wrestling is a lot different, and I think Merab is just the better MMA wrestler, and I think it's gonna be a decision, but I think Merab is gonna take the win. But nice. Really, also really nice fight.
Yeah, it should be a very fun fight. And just the last thing from me, kind of looking through your Instagram, doing some research on you, you seem to have a couple of back flips and front flips and all this kind of thing in your locker. Just talk us through a little bit of your parkour skills.
Yeah, when I was younger, I did a lot of parkour, a lot of crazy stuff. Now a little bit less. Only things I can do safely, but back in the day, I really did some crazy stunts. And yeah, I did parkour with my friends back when I was 12, 13 a lot. Yeah, that's from that.
The videos are super cool. And who knows, we may see a resurrection someday of the Showtime kick from yourself. You know, you've got it in your locker.
Yeah.
So. That would be fantastic. Well, listen, Elias, thank you so much for your time, mate. That is Team Austria's building towards the European IMMAF Championships this year, looking for back-to-back golds from the Worlds and the Euros. Elias Erber, thank you so much for your time, mate. We're really looking forward to seeing you compete this year.
Thank you for having me.